addressed this matter of Nane demos, and this is what he said while in Embu County yesterday.
The nation's youngest population continues to plan the Nane protest. President William Ruto has now come out to castigate the planned demos on Thursday, sounding a warning to participants. The head of state now says the protests in the past few weeks have been destructive, calling on Kenyans not to engage in the protests that seek to destabilize the country.
Sisi ni nchi ambayo tunaamini kwa amani. Hatutaki fujo katika taifa letu la Kenya. Hatutaki maandamano ambayo inaleta maafa, ambayo inaleta kuharibifu wa mali, ambayo watu wanapoteza mali yao. Tunataka amani. Watu wa Embu mnasema tunataka amani ama mnataka fujo iendelee? Mnataka amani? Ebu niole wala anasema tunataka amani katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Kenya's Generation Zoomers have vowed to continue with their push for good governance and accountability in the country. The plan is to shut down the country tomorrow in the protest dubbed Nane. The protesters now want the dissolution of government and the resignation of President William Ruto. The president also defended the move to have the opposition in his cabinet, saying the government of national unity seeks to unite the entire country. Ruto added that the responsibility of advancing the nation now lies with every member of his cabinet as he seeks to share the tag Zakayo with his latest addition.
Mimi juzi nimeunda serikali ya kuunganisha Wakenya wote. Kwa sababu sitaki fitina tena na Mkenya yeyote. Hata kama ni kulipa madeni tulipe pamoja. Kama ni kutafuta ushuru tutafute pamoja. Mimi peke yangu nisiitwe Zakayo. Sisi wote tupange mambo ya kutafuta ushuru ya Kenya. Kwani pesa mimi natafuta ya Kenya inaenda kwa akaunti yangu? Si inaenda kwa akaunti yetu sisi wote? Kwa hivyo kila mtu sasa akuje akuwe Zakayo. Tutafute hiyo ushuru pamoja. Ama mnasema tufanye namna gani? Si ndio? Nimesema wacha niunde serikali ya kuunganisha Wakenya wote. Watu wa Embu mnakubaliana na mimi nilete Wakenya wote pamoja?
Siasa mzuri ni hii siasa ya maendeleo. Kwa sababu nikiuliza hawa wananchi, Mwai Kibaki president wetu alisema nini mwaka wa 2007? Hakuna anakumbuka, lakini kazi tunaikumbuka. Kwa hivyo mimi nauliza sisi wote viongozi, maneno ni soko, maneno ni barabara, bei ya kahawa, bei ya maziwa, maneno ya kupeleka wadosi wetu mbele, na wadosi ni nyinyi ambao mumetupea kazi.
Ruto is on a 3-day development tour of the Mount Kenya region, accompanied by his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, amid claims that a rift is growing between the two.
Sisi tumefika hapa kumsindikisha kiongozi wetu kwa ziara maendeleo. Kwa sababu mwaka 2 iliyopita tulifika hapa kuomba kura. Nyinyi mkatuombea, mkakuwa wangana, mkatupatia kura. Tumekuja kusema asanti na juu yake kurudisha mkono.
The move to have the two on the development tour is seen as an attempt by the executive to show a united front, especially for the Mount Kenya electorate, which played a huge role in the propelling the Kenya Kwanza government to power. Brian Amuai, K24, Nairobi.
Bonaya, a clarion call there by the president that Kenyans should not come out in the streets. I mean, that will put many lives in danger for those who are demonstrating. So far, how many have been killed by the police and how many police have been killed by the protesters?
In fact, I believe we are at a death toll of 61 young people that have actually succumbed to the hands of the police of this country. So, in fact,
how many police have been killed by the Gen Zs?
In fact, it's quite ravishing that they are actually close to about 0 towards the negative. Yeah, none of them have been killed. But you see, there is a thin line between politicking and governance. What is aggravating the young people is politicking. You see, when you go out on a campaign tour, rather than going to offices and putting to book legislative policies that will aid in adequate governance of this country, that is what is aggravating the young people of this country. The young people of this country are requesting for basic services, equity and equality. And we can actually see it by, you see, when you pick up some few individuals on your circle and you decide, let us go for campaigns throughout this entire country, for us to be seen to be together, instead of you actually putting effort towards injecting some money into the economy, injecting some workforce into the economy, that will largely increase the employability of the young people. So it is a cry for the young people that His Excellency the President of this country will still listen. We still have that hope. But now, if up to this particular point in time, they're still politicking instead of governing this country, we'll have a problem as a country.
Kenya President William Ruto perhaps seems to already listen to the demands by the Gen Z. There were questions and queries and concerns of him being a flying president. This time around, the president is in the country. I mean, at least he is on the ground.
You know, I expected that question. Because it's funny enough that we are now headed to the 3rd month since the president flew out. It means that the Gen Zs have been able to contain, you know, the expenditures of the presidency, the entire government. In fact, even the deputy president, I have not had him fly out. And so it's something nice, it's something that we must appreciate. At least the Gen Zs are trying to put the government on toes, especially on matters to do with expenditure, especially to matters to do with prudent management and, you know, use of public money.
And now that the president has listened to the Gen Zs, he's not traveling. I mean, already you've admitted that he's not traveling. Why not also listen to the president by not coming out in the streets and demonstrating?
Okay, now let me tell you, we as youths, we understand very well that diplomacy is the art of telling people, go to hell, and they ask you for the direction. This is what the president has failed to do. You know, you cannot use bravado, you cannot be chest thumping and showing us that, you see, there's nothing that you can do. You've brought to us people who have issues, especially they are not aligning, their integrity is not being aligned to Chapter 6 of the Constitution. You see, the funny thing is that the Constitution did not contemplate that we should have a righteous man at the presidency. Even a madman can be president, but he must be subjected to the Constitution. Now, all these people, they've had integrity issues. Look at the CS for mining. He's supposed to be sworn in today. Look at the CS for the same person for education. It's like a matter of rewarding political loyalists. So, well, like I said before, we cannot appoint the cabinet for the president. But now it's high time he realizes that people are tired. People want competence. People want to have leaders who are conversant with the issues that affect them. I'll give you a very wonderful example. Look at the Ministry of Agriculture. We are having a very draconian bill in the form of Livestock Bill 2024. Our parents are suffering. Practicing agriculture, which is a backbone of our country, is proving now to be an issue. It's proving to be like a burden, but no one talks about it. Is it that the president would want us to hear him more, or should he be the one to listen to us? But now, let me say this, the listening period and time for dialogue is over. It's either they commit to work, or they ship out. That's what
and now to Wakili Steve Mbogwa. Today, President William Ruto will be swearing in the 19 out of 20 cabinet nominees. Interestingly, some 4 top former ODM officials are there. John Mbadi, Opiyo Wandayi, among others. According to Raila Odinga, he saved the president from imminent collapse. You know, these demos are seen as a litmus test. What do you feel will be the position of the president today if at all these demos happen, similar to how they happened before? Will it again put now Raila Odinga on, you know, in line?
First and foremost, what is what perplexes me mostly is the fact that Kenya, we don't have political parties that have particular ideals which guide them and principles that they uphold true to the word and true to the letter. Why am I saying this? The Azimio faction, which especially now the ODM faction, which has now joined the government, was voted as a minority and lost because they never believed in the candidature of Ruto. They never believed in the manifesto of bottom-up. They crisscrossed this country and spent millions of shillings and hours and manpower to campaign against that agenda. So how now the top leadership, the minority leader, the chairman of the party, how they have now moved to government and how they are going to push the agenda of bottom-up.
But John Mbadi says there's no difference between UDA and ODM's manifesto.
Clearly showing you then these are just a group of people who don't have any ideals. And that's why we have had this problem for a long time. That's why you'll find someone like Joho, who was always anti-Ruto for a very long time, is now pro-Ruto. I saw them yesterday in Parliament. They were all, the minority leader, Opio, and I was praising the president and calling him with all the great titles he could give it to him, trying to acknowledge the fact that he gave him a job to serve the country. What I don't understand and I expect to see is how will Opio and I, who has been a minority leader, who has been moving the agenda of trying to keep the government on check, is going now to align to a new manifesto, which he never believed in, even in the creation of it. Now they are the ones who are going to be pushing for its implementation. That is one of the problems we have, and that is a failure by the opposition, who have failed to keep the government on check in the assembly, because clearly showing that by them moving to government, 4 cabinet secretaries who are in the top leadership of ODM. 2 of them are deputy leaders of the ODM. The other one is the chair of the party. The other one is a minority leader who have moved to that party. So I don't know whether it's that Raila never trusted them to be in the opposition, that's why he handed them over to government, or it is because they never had any ideals or principles. That's why they can swing either way. So how now the ODM is going to check and keep the government on check in the floor of the house is what I want to see, because them having their leaders in government and now them again on the floor being the minority, how that is going to work is a serious constitutional issue, because it clearly means we don't have an opposition. We have just one government of crooks who have just moved to one side. And today, answering the other part of the question, what will happen to Ruto's, or what will Ruto perceive the demos if they happen? The demos are going to happen. Whether they will be the same magnitude as they happen on 25th or not, that's a story that we're going to check later in the day. But what Raila needs to know and what Ruto needs to know is that people are not demonstrating because of Raila. They're not demonstrating because of Ruto. They're not demonstrating because of any political person. They're demonstrating because they feel things are not right. They see things are not right. Ruto, when he moves around, even in Embu yesterday, he was out there telling people how he has created jobs in the housing sector. But a few days, I think most of these papers, for the last few days, they have been providing headlines on how this project of the housing project has stalled across the country, how these millions of money have been wasted, and even some of we saw even some of the projects in the coastal region, police officers had to, who are supposed to occupy these houses, had to build, to complete them and occupy the house. So we have serious issues, with serious concerns when it comes to some of these projects, serious corruption cases, and the president has not shown any goodwill in addressing the concerns of Kenyans when it comes to accountability and integrity.
Bonaya, according to Kalonzo Musyoka, he accuses Raila Odinga as a betrayer, one who has hijacked a revolution that is not his. Now that Raila is on board, will these demonstrations still happen? Or did he have a hand in what was transpiring in the country? At the same time, concerns on police brutality and atrocities that were committed, they have not been addressed adequately, compensation and also accountability. Does it concern you that Raila Odinga will offer 4 of his party members to the government? Earlier on, he understand that there's no negotiation until you address these matters, but has he just shortchanged his own commitment?
First, I would begin by saying, they say birds of a feather flock together, and they say people of like-minded nature actually get to move together in one direction. And previously, I had also began by saying that there's a thin line between politicking and governing. What I'm seeing by the move of His Excellency Raila Odinga is more of politics rather than putting to heart the interests of the people of this country. Towards the beginning of the demos, we believed that none of the members of the opposition party, to be specific, Azimio, had any hand in the ongoing demonstrations. The ongoing demonstrations was applied by the young people, requesting for basic amenities to be provided in this country. And up to this particular point in time, we actually get to see the hurdles that are being thrown in the opposition party. And this is as a result of people actually putting their self-interest first ahead of what is their core mandate. Why they actually took an oath to office to get to serve the people of this country. And I believe it would be self-sabotage by the opposition party, because we are only aware of a few people that have actually been very loyal to their cause as opposition leaders, like His Excellency Babu Wino, like High Excellency Emilio Odhiambo. They have been very, very objective to ensure that this particular government is in check. Well, I'm not sure, but if perhaps they were given positions in cabinet, I don't know if they would have taken them. But I believe up to this particular point in time, they have been very objective to what they actually want to achieve as far as putting this country accountable to its actions is concerned. When it comes to matters police brutality, actually we have not seen any sort of compensation. We had a student that actually died at JKUAT Denzel. He was found lifeless in Akware. And this actually speaks volumes, because His Excellency I saw contributed 100,000 towards the burial of this young student. But the main question would be, has justice been served? Has it been a moment of hibajaba, where people get to marry around and forget that the core mandate of why these young people were out there, their plight has not been listened to? Well, he has tried to listen in one or two scenarios, but what they were demanding for up to this particular point in time has not been executed. So I would question the Azimio party, maybe because they are seeing Baba might not actually be a presidential candidate when the next election is actually coming. But politics, they say, is all about interests. But people forget they should have the people's interests first ahead of their own interests.
Ikenya, the trigger of the demonstrations when they started was the finance bill of 2024. This time round, what is this that is still angering the Gen Zs?
Okay, thank you.
Is it also Raila Odinga's team joining the cabinet?
Yeah. Before I answer that, let me buttress what my two colleagues, or rather my two panelists, have just said, that we have an issue in Kenya, an issue to do with political promiscuity. And this is something that the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga mentioned last year, that we cannot have people who are jumping from one ship to the other, jumping from one political party to the other. This is what we are now seeing. And I would say that we are in a quagmire, because looking at how things are unfolding, we cannot have the opposition being part of the government. Then how is it going to oversight, or rather counteract bad policies, bad frameworks that come from the government? How is it going to work? So we must call out, this is a clarion call to all leaders, to all political parties, that we need to run away from this vice of political promiscuity. Now, to the question on what triggers the Gen Z protests, let me say that this was a moment that had been awaited for a very long time. And we always say that there is nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. This is an idea that was waiting for its own time to unleash. Looking at the achievements, some of the achievements that the Gen Z movement has achieved, We have had the president dismiss his cabinet. We've had the finance bill being dropped. And of course, it has not been a walk in the park, but at least we must appreciate the fact that there have been steps that have been made. So currently, Kenya is being faced by a cancer called corruption and bad governance. And this is what I think and I feel, I have a conviction that angers the Gen Zs. And not only the Gen Zs, not only the millennials, but everyone who has been united by a factor to do with, you see, those factors that bring us together, poverty, diseases, hunger. These issues are not bound by, you know, the classes that we are. We have the dynasties, we have the hustlers. Hatujaletwa pamoja na mambo ya utajiri na nini.
And you've not been sponsored as well.
We have not. I'll tell you for a fact. I attended the first protest, the second protest, and the third protest. So we've had issues to do with the Ford Foundation. I was never given a single coin. I came out to the streets out of my own conviction.
But if you come across the single
even
coin,
Wakili here,
pick it.
how much can you pay Wakili to attend a protest?
Well, let's see what Kenyans are saying as far as this conversation is concerned this morning via SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens, and as well on our WhatsApp and rather our social media platforms. Jebo Kesa saying, why should I support protest from faceless, leaderless, formless, brainless, and idealist people? Peter Kagimbi, Mr. President, I wish you can just sit down, compose a credible government by appointing a capable people with the performing track records, and we have plenty of them in Kenya. Give them a free hand to run their dockets, allow the institutions to run as the constitution dictates, get good results, and take credit for that good performance. Why is such a simple arrangement becoming rocket science to a whole doctor? Dr. Ruto, that is. Juma Mvulana, today politicians don't defend the country, but defend whom they like and benefit from. Kenya Kusha. Katiwa, I smell a new Kenya. I smell a good economy. I smell good governance. I smell the end of corruption in my motherland. If it's not today, when will it be? Keep talking to us via social media platforms and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of the screens, and of course I'll be sampling some of them. We take a short commercial break. Remember, we also expect President William Ruto to swear in his new cabinet, 19 members who have already been gazetted after approval by the National Assembly yesterday. We'll be right back with the conversation on the Nane demos. Stay tuned.